You know, when I look around at all the entrepreneurs who are grinding it out, spending 70 to 80 hours per week growing their business, you have to ask yourself the question, at what cost? Hi, my name's Tim Uchuk, and in this podcast, we're going to be exploring the tools, tactics, and strategies for crushing it and scaling your business without making the ultimate sacrifice of your time and freedom. Hey, what's up, guys? Tim Uchuk here. Just picking up some sushi here on the island, and I thought I would hop on and record a quick episode for you. I've got about 10 minutes, and what I want to talk about specifically is the goal of scaling your business without killing yourself in the process. Because there's kind of, when it comes to growing your business, we have two options. Of course, when you're starting out, you're jumping off that cliff and building the airplane on the way down, right? And so, in the absence of money to invest in teams and resources, it's time, right? It's time or money. And so when you're starting out, oftentimes in the absence of having the resource of money, you have time. So it's the sweat equity. You gotta put in the time to get the airplane off the runway, right? And there's no way around the necessity to put in that energy initially. However, when the flywheel starts to turn and you start to have a business that is able to generate clients profitably, relatively predictably, we often don't realize that we also have to adapt our system if we want to keep that going without burning ourselves out. Because when you're starting out, you're wearing most of the hats, you're doing most of the heavy lifting, and you're able to stay on top of most of the action throughout your business, right? The marketing, the sales, the quoting, the delivery, and the fulfillment. You're able to kind of keep it together and stay on top of it until you reach a point where you just can't anymore. And until you fundamentally shift how you run your business, this is the fast track to burnout if you want to continue growing. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and this is where we have to start thinking and working smart rather than hard, because it's very easy, and it happens so often that business owners are at they've reached that 750K per year to $1 million, $2 million run rate, and they're still running things the same way they did when they were just starting out. And so this is where they feel complete overwhelm, because your brain is just, our brains are only wired to handle and balance so much information. And so it becomes really, really taxing, and it's hard. It's hard to run, even if you're a superhero. It's hard for anybody, doesn't matter your intelligence, to run an operation that lacks good systems. So what I want to talk about really quickly for you are the two things that you need to have in place if you want to scale your business without killing yourself. In other words, having a business that can start to grow and be an entity that is not you, right? You're no longer chief everything officer. So what do you need to have in place? What are these two things that you have to have in place in order to make that happen? Well, the two things that you need to solve for to have things running in your absence are activities is number one. So let's say, for example, you are away on vacation. You're away from the office for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month on vacation. The activities, the day-to-day activities, I like to divide them into ad hoc and recurring. So the daily following up on the emails, the phone calls, the quotes, etc. Those things are happening whether or not you're there. And the recurring stuff, so daily reporting, the anything that's recurring, your payroll, all that recurring stuff, that needs to happen whether or not you're in the office. Okay, so those are the activities. That's number one. You need a solution. You need an operating system in place to handle the day-to-day activities. And so not just an operating system to make sure that, and the right people to make sure it's happening, but if you, again, want a sellable asset, you need to have the ability, if you're, again, away on vacation, to have peace of mind, trust but verify, and know that things are moving forward, because you will I guarantee in the absence of having this knowledge, the ability to see your business, um, from remotely, you're not going to be able to sleep at night, and you're going to be glued to your phone. So having a transparent, visible system so that you can have peace of mind knowing the activities within your business from end to end, your marketing, your sales, your fulfillment, your finance, your cash collection, all the activities are handled. So that's the first thing that you need to have in place if you want to scale. You need to start getting the activities off your shoulders, redistribute them so that eventually 80-90% of the day-to-day stuff is not on your shoulders. That's number one of two. Number two of two are decisions. Decisions. What does that mean? It means that on a daily basis, as your business is growing, and even as your business is just maintaining, there are and always will be problems that need to be resolved within your business, right? You've got an upset customer, for example. You have, a mistake was made within your business, for example. You might have a cash flow challenge because you've overextended yourself, for example. All these problems coming up, and if you're the chief everything officer and all decisions are going through you again, you'll reach a point in time where your brain just will stop functioning. You won't be able to balance and manage it all. And again, think of the extreme situation of, a Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Uh, Obviously, with how big that organization is, he can't possibly stay on top of everything and make all the decisions. So think of those extreme scenarios, right? And if you apply that level of thinking, it follows that if you want your business to continue growing, you can't possibly make all the decisions. Now, the caveat is you need to have a system and a culture and teams that are able to make the right decisions in your absence. So what does that look like? It looks like a combination of a few things that you'll need to have in your business. Thing number one are your KPIs, your key performance indicators. And the purpose and benefit of having KPIs, green, yellow, red. You know what numbers are red, what green means, what red means, and that gives you and your teams the ability throughout your business to understand what does healthy look like and how can we measure it. So think of your doctor. You might say that you've got an upset stomach, but they'll listen to what you have to say, but then they're going to take some measurements. And so for a doctor, what does healthy look like and how can we measure it? They're looking at your health metrics, your biometrics within KPI, your blood pressure, your heart rate, and so on. And they're looking for what does healthy look like and how can we measure it. So you want to have the same system in place for your business so that, again, if you're away on vacation, you can glance at your business and you can see the areas that are outside of KPI that are in the red very simply, very quickly, and the numbers that are in the green, right? And when you have that in place, and when you have these KPIs tied to team members that aren't you, when the numbers are in the red and they're transparent, guess what's going to happen? The right decisions are going to be made because the decisions will be tied to the data. And when you're making decisions that are tied to the truth, to the data, they're going to be the right decisions most of the time, right? So you can influence decisions by having your KPIs, your measurements in place, and we do it week to week. This is what we teach in our Perfect Week program, how to set this up and keep it simple. The purpose behind that, though, is to hand off decision making within your business for your teams. The second the second strategy that you have to have in place to influence decisions is this idea of making your tomorrows better than your todays. So if you set up, we do quarterly planning, for example, and every quarter we look out 90 days into the future. We reverse engineer exactly where our business needs to be within 90-day increments, 12 to 13 week sprints every quarter. And we figure out where are the gaps in our business. It could be key hires that need to be made. It could be processes that need to be documented. It could be training and skill development. It could be outsourced partners to add new capabilities to your business. So every quarter, We make a decision for where the team's going to focus. We reverse engineer it. We divide and conquer, and it's measurable and it's mapped out. So the decisions are made on your behalf. You don't need to tell the team where to focus on a week to week basis, because you have a system that does that every quarter, and that dictates the to-do list for focus, but it also dictates the not to-do list, right? In terms of what you're prioritizing as an organization. So that's another strategy at your disposal to um, to empower your teams and to hand off the decision making within your organization, right? The other way that you can influence decisions within your business, so that you're not the one making all the decisions, is think about Disneyland. And if you've ever been to one of the theme parks or been on like a Disney cruise, their culture is second to none, and it's not by accident. So there is a reason why, when you ask anybody, it doesn't matter if they're the janitor, it doesn't matter what their role is, if you ask them for help, they will not say, that's not my job. They won't say that. Why? Because Disney very, very holds near and dear, and builds into their whole onboarding and performance management their core values, what they stand for. And core values are the behaviors and decisions and habits that are in place when nobody's watching, right? So are you stepping over that piece of garbage and saying, it's not my job, I don't clean up garbage? When you have core values in place, number one, you can manage against them rather than if somebody's out of step, it's not your opinion. You manage against your values in terms of what it means to be a great team member, right? So much healthier. But when you hire and fire around your values, you start to develop these habits and behaviors, and what follows the habits and behaviors are the decisions that are made in your absence, right? So that piece of garbage that's lying on the floor in your shop or in your office, when you have the right team that aligns with your core values, you're going to have a team that's going to stop and say, oh, I'm going to pick up this piece of garbage. Or when they see a problem, or when a customer has a challenge, they will not say, that's not my job. Okay, so we talked about KPIs, we talked about quarterly objectives, and we talked about core values. These are the things that when you set them up and have them in place, guess what happens? You can hand off decision making more and more within your business. And guess what happens when you are able to confidently hand off your activities, your day-to-day activities, with peace of mind and decisions. You're not imagine you're on vacation, and I'm sure we've all been here to some extent, and let's say you've handed off a lot of the activities, but the decisions you have not handed off. And this is where you're on vacation physically, but mentally you're still the one who is making all the decisions, and people are emailing you and phoning you and texting you and saying, hey, what should we do here? What do you think about this? This is because you have not implemented a system in your business to handle the decision making and empowered your team to handle the decision making, right? Formally, intentionally. So I hope that's helpful. I am at home with our sushi here, but I wanted to talk about, and there's so much noise out there, right? There's new business books coming out all the time. There's flavor of the month strategies, and it can be noisy out there. And so I think it's comforting when we can attach ourselves to timeless principles, things that will not change, because there's so much change that is in our world, so much noise out there. So what won't change, what will never ever change, is the fact that if you want to scale your business and not kill yourself in the process, you need to take care of your activities and your decisions within your business. And so there are many doors to the same house. There are so many different strategies that you could take. I'm really biased and tied to mine and and what we've set up. Number one, because it's easy, but number two, because it works, and having these things in place are universal. The ability for you and your team to make data-based decisions, that's never going to change. So whether or not you use a KPI scorecard that you develop or that we've developed, the fact that remains that you have to have you have to have a mechanism in place to provide a feedback loop on your company's data. So what does healthy look like and how can we measure, right? So these are universal timeless principles that you need to have in place if you want to make that shift. But ultimately what it comes down to, if we again zoom out 30,000 feet, it comes down to your activities and your decisions. That's it. That's what you have to solve for. So I hope that's helpful. I just pulled out into our driveway here. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week whenever you're listening to this, and I will catch up with you guys soon. Hey, Tim Uchuk here, and real quick, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, if you could take a couple quick seconds to give it a rating, it would be very much appreciated. And secondly, if you're looking for more tools and strategies on how you can crush it in life and business, just head on over to bookwithtim.com, where I've put together a free case study which shows you how to unlock unprecedented freedom today by using the 2 power levers. Just head on over to bookwithtim.com. Until next time, wishing you success and freedom in your business. Cheers.